Have you ever woken up to find your beautiful garden reduced to mere sticks overnight? It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Those pesky deer can do a whole season's worth of damage in the blink of an eye, leaving you feeling helpless and frustrated. I've been there myself, and it's enough to make any gardener want to give up. But what if I told you there's a simple, affordable solution that could save your garden from those ravenous deer? Over the years, I've learned a thing or two about keeping these graceful yet destructive creatures at bay, and I'm here to share my tried and true methods with you. Stay tuned till the end, and I'll tell you how to design a deer-proof garden from the ground up. We'll discuss everything from choosing the right plants to building effective barriers and using my favorite deer repellents. Let's jump right in. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to my channel Houseplantslove and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Understanding your adversary deer behavior. Before we dive into specific tactics, it's helpful to understand a little about how deer see the world, literally. You see, deer don't have great depth perception, and their vision isn't the best. This is why they often seem startled or jump erratically, especially in car headlights. Instead of relying on sight, deer rely heavily on their sense of smell and taste. They're drawn to gardens with strong scents and succulent, tender plants. Knowing this helps us develop strategies to protect our precious gardens. Think of it this way: we want to make our gardens less appealing to a deer's sense of smell and taste, while also creating visual and physical barriers that deter them. I'll share some of my favorite methods for doing just that. From simple DIY solutions to more robust strategies, there's something here for every gardener and every budget. My secret weapon, the pie pan defense. Now let's talk about one of my favorite deer deterrents, and it's probably not what you think. Forget expensive store-bought contraptions. This solution is simple, effective, and easy on the wallet. Here's what you'll need: hay string and inexpensive metal pie pans. At each corner of your garden, install a sturdy pole or post. Then string the hay string between the poles, making sure it's stretched. Now, here's the fun part. Attach your pie pans to the string at intervals like shiny and make loud noise. I recommend setting up 2 layers of string. One at deer height, about 3 feet, and another below it, about 18 inches off the ground. This increases the chances of the deer running into the string and hearing the clattering pans, which frightens them and keeps them away from your precious plants. If you're enjoying the video so far, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Nature's defense deer-resistant plants. Now let's talk about using nature to our advantage. Did you know that certain plants have natural defenses that deer find unappetizing? It's true! By incorporating these deer-resistant plants into your garden, you can create a natural barrier that discourages these 4-legged foragers. Think of plants with strong scents, fuzzy textures, or thorny stems. Deer tend to avoid these because they're not as palatable. Some of my favorite deer-resistant plants include lavender, rosemary, catmint, yarrow, and Russian sage. For an extra layer of defense, plant these deer-resistant varieties along the borders of your garden. If deer run into the string and find the plants unappetizing, they're less likely to return. I like to mix highly resistant plants with more vulnerable ones. For example, I might plant catmint, which deer dislike, near my roses. The smell of the catmint often keeps them away. Try combining resistant plants to create natural barriers and deterrents throughout your garden. Man's best friend, dogs as a deterrent. For those of us lucky enough to share our lives with dogs, you've probably noticed that they can be quite effective at keeping deer away. The scent of a dog, especially a larger breed, can be enough to make a deer think twice about entering your yard. When my dogs are outside, I rarely see deer anywhere near the garden. They can sense the dog's presence and know that it's not worth the risk. However, it's important to remember that dogs are not a foolproof solution. Deer are creatures of habit, and they'll quickly learn your dog's routine. If your dog is only outside for short periods or spends most of its time indoors, deer will take advantage of those times when the coast is clear. The fortress approach, the power of fencing. If you're serious about keeping deer out of your garden, the most effective solution is a tall, sturdy fence. Deer can jump surprisingly high, up to 8 feet in some cases, so your fence needs to be at least that tall to be an effective deterrent. Now, I understand that installing a tall fence isn't always feasible or aesthetically pleasing, but don't worry, there are other options. If you already have a lower fence, like I do, try a double fence system. Install a second fence a few feet inside the first one, creating a narrow corridor between them. Deer lack depth perception, so having two fences close together often confuses them, making them less likely to attempt to jump. This has worked wonders in my garden for years. Walk down the aisles of any garden center, and you'll find an array of gadgets and gizmos claiming to scare deer away. Motion-activated sprinklers, ultrasonic sound emitters, flashing lights, you name it, they've got it. While these devices might seem promising, I found that their effectiveness is often short-lived. Deer are intelligent creatures, and they quickly catch on to patterns. Once they realize that the sudden spray of water or the flashing light poses no real threat, they'll simply ignore it. However, every garden is different, and what works for one might not work for another. If you've had success with deer scare devices, I'd love to hear about it. Share your experiences in the comments below. Now let's talk about repellents. Over the years, I've tried my fair share of deer repellents, and I found that a two-pronged approach works best. First, I use a spray repellent directly on my plants. Look for a repellent with a strong, unpleasant scent that deters deer but doesn't offend human noses. I prefer repellents with natural ingredients like garlic, peppermint, or putrescent egg solids. Second, I create a perimeter barrier around my garden using granular repellents. These granules typically contain predator urine or other scents that deer find offensive. Sprinkle them around the edges of your garden, creating an invisible fence that deer won't want to cross. When it comes to using repellents effectively, timing is crucial. Don't wait until deer have already discovered your garden and developed a taste for your plants. Start early in the season, even before your plants break ground. I like to apply repellents multiple times throughout the growing season, especially after heavy rain or watering, which can wash away the scent. A good rule of thumb is to reapply every few weeks or as needed. Remember, consistency is key when it comes to repelling deer. Protecting your garden from deer is an ongoing process, but I promise it's worth the effort. Over the years, I've learned that the key to success is consistency. Remember, gardening is a journey, not a destination. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you've tried any of these tactics or have your own methods, please share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what's working for you. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel Houseplantslove for more gardening tips.